get to do this. I got through the issues that I was having with my hip. I got to heal. I got to get back to running. I don't know if you remember, like the shirt that I had on said Foxtrot Uniform Charlie Kilo Cancer. If you know your military alphabet, you can translate that. And it was, I consciously picked that because two people who were really important to me were battling cancer at that point in time. And one of them is part of our community, and the other one was my brother-in-law. And it was just like, I'm going to go do this. And these miles, these 26.2 miles, I get to dedicate to them.
Running is a strange thing. Some people find it on the sidewalk at sunrise. Some find it deep in the mountains, chasing daylight. And some of us find it when life feels heavy, and running is the only thing that makes sense. For some, it starts with a 5K. For others, it's a marathon. And for a few, it's 100 miles that changes everything. But somewhere between the first step and the finish line, something happens. Running stops being about pace, or distance, or medals. It becomes about purpose. I'm your host, Ryan Head, and this is Reimagine Running, the podcast dedicated to talking about why we run. Each episode, we'll sit down with runners from every background, trail runners, road runners, beginners, veterans, and talk about their journey. Not just where they've run, but why they run. Because for many of us, running didn't just change our fitness, it helped us find clarity, healing, discipline, hope, and sometimes even ourselves. Whether your why was born on a short loop around the block, or somewhere deep inside a long, lonely mile, this podcast is for you. Welcome to Reimagine Running. All right, everybody, welcome back to Reimagine Running, the podcast talking about your why and why we run. I'm excited to have a new guest on today, someone who I am very well acquainted with and who is just a great friend of mine in the community, someone who I've had the pleasure of knowing for a few years now. She has been someone that has just taken running by storm. You have these people that you know in the running community, and wherever you live, wherever you're at, whether you're here in Utah, Salt Lake City, you're in Delaware, or whatever, Florida, there's these people, and we all know these people that they come, they show up to maybe a group run or a race, and then all of a sudden, like 2-3 years later, they have just got incredibly faster. They're kicking butt. They're doing miles like crazy. They're doing at one time like 5 races in a row. We'll get to that. I'm excited for her to talk about this on the pod today, but just turns into just a running fiend and has just been so awesome. I'm excited to have Christy Rundio join us today on the pod. Let me give just a little bit about her. Christy is a Utah transplant, having lived in 5 other states before landing here with her family in 2020. Her running journey started in 2022 with a small prequel in about 2014. I'm excited to hear about this because I'm not even aware of this. She enjoys both road and trail running as they both serve different purposes. Her work outside as a therapist informs her goals as a runner and vice versa. Outside of running, she loves camping, homemade pizza night with the family, and the Denver Broncos. Really? No, I'm just
Yes,
teasing. I'm just teasing.
absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, Christy, I am so excited to have you on the podcast. Welcome to Reimagine Running.
I'm stoked to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, awesome. Well, again, when I was putting this podcast together, and I'm eventually going to get through the 12 people the names of the 12 people that I have. So it's going to be often when I can't use this any longer. But there was a certain 12 people that I kind of come up with, and some have been added, but that wasn't originally on. But you were one of those people that I identified because your story has just been so awe-inspiring as you started coming out, running with us in the running club. And it's funny because early on, when I think of the running club, I always think of like the people who show up all the time. And originally it was like me and Tim and Joe. And that's just like, it was like the 3 of us. And then as the years have progressed, there's people who have just now become part of those regulars, and they're going to be there, and sometimes they can't. But really early on, you were one of those people who just like became a regular. And when I think of the running club now here in Ogden, Utah, this beautiful thing that we've helped all create, a group that's all of ours. You're one of those people. You're one of those people that I'm just like, it's Christy is such an integral part to it. So I appreciate everything you offer, not only to the running club, but to the running community in general. Your inspiring story, what you're doing. And that's why I wanted you on the podcast, because you have a story that people need to hear. That's why I'm doing the podcast, right? Not only is it our why, but you have a story that people have to hear because it's important. I think there's so many people that maybe, not exactly you, but in the same boat as you, and we need to hear their stories. And I think that's important. I think it's necessary. So at least that's my
Thanks.
crazy wild idea that I had when I started the podcast. So, anyways, I gave a little bit of an intro of you. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about you? Anything else you want to share? It doesn't have to necessarily be running related. It could be what's your favorite hobby outside of running and football. No, I'm just kidding, or sport. So,
Um, yeah, I mean, running was something that I like kind of stumbled into here, and I'm super grateful to have that here. Yeah, a big Denver Broncos fan. I'm married to an Eagles fan. Once every 4 years, we battle it out, and I think we have a tied record right now. So, um, yeah, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a clinical therapist. I work with people who struggle with addiction, and you know, it's I love all the different facets of my life, and running was not necessarily something I expected to become one of those, but it has been, and I'm just so grateful for it every day.
nice. Nice. No, that's awesome. Okay, well, I usually lead with the same question, but I guess I'm going to ask a different version of this question. Um, how did running become what it is for you? I usually ask,
Mhm.
what's your why or how did this all happen? But how did this become what it is to you? Because, right? I mean, all joking aside, I always have people tell me like running is your addiction, and right,
Mhm.
you're a therapist for addiction. So like, what's going on here? Like, right?
Yeah,
Anyways, how did this happen for you?
I think the big element for me has been the community. That you talked about, the running group. Um, that is, I know without a doubt what has kept me showing up and what has
Mhm.
helped me find the love of running that I have, um, and keeps me going on the days that I don't want to get up and run, or when 16 miles feels like, oh, it's the community is really such an integral part of how it's become what it has become for me. And I don't think I'd be where I'm at, or I don't even know that I'd be continuing running if I didn't have that. That's that's been a huge, just a vital element of it for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I agree with you. It's funny how there's been so many of us who have come on so far and episodes yet to be released. And I'm sure there'll be more after who say the same thing. The community has been so important. And because when I first started this group, right? And I agree, like people have been like, well, it's your group. And I don't think it's my group. I think it's the community's group. But I did start it. It was something, we started years ago. Thanks to Jamie McDonald. Big shout out to Jamie McDonald and Fleet Feet for believing in me all those years ago and being like, hey, we want you to lead our group runs and all that fun stuff and really try to form a club. But it was awesome because that so many people have said, they're like, "I need this." Like,
Mhm.
I want that interaction. I want to feel a part of something, and I think we've
Mhm.
all experienced that to some extent or whatnot. So, I love that you say that because I feel the same way. I love knowing that on Saturday morning, we're all gonna hold each other accountable. We're all gonna go get some miles together. We could do it in a very pretty safe environment where we all feel
Yeah.
good to be around each other, and we all have each other's backs. I think that's the coolest part. And one other thing that I've always just appreciated, I think it's taken years to kind of get to this, but I feel like we have more women that run now than we do have
Yeah,
guys to the running club, which has been so cool for me because I work in HR professionally and I'm always worrying about perception and what people can say and there could be issues and that's just natural. But seeing so many women feel safe enough to come out and run with us has been huge. And I'm like, yes, we are
yeah.
accomplishing the goal. And I know that's not just me. That's people like you. That's people like
Mhm.
Joe. That's people like Micah, who have just been like there to make people feel welcome, to feel like they have a place, that regardless of their pace, regardless of where they're at, come run a mile, come walk a mile, come run 20 miles with us. We're gonna have
Yeah.
fun. Come have fun with us. So that's awesome. So I agree with you.
When you talk about people having that place or that sense of belonging, I talk a lot about the idea of people, place, and purpose. And that's what the running community is for me. Like, there's people there that I know are going to be excited to see me on Saturday morning, even when we're still rubbing sleep out of our eyes, and I'm really excited to see them. And we're cheering each other on and we want to see each other accomplish things. And that place, it's that safety. It's safety, it is a big thing, not
Mhm.
just in the sense of like being physically safe as we're out running, but also there's no judgment.
Yep.
Come at whatever pace you're at, come at whatever distance you're at. When I started with the group runs, like I remember going to the first one and thinking, okay, here we go. I'm gonna try it and see what this is like. And it
Yep.
was just like, oh, okay, this is just a good place to be.
Mhm.
Um, and then having that purpose, like just that the thing that keeps us going, right? Holding each other positively accountable, but then expanding it, bringing other people in. Come join us.
Yep.
We want to help you see you meet your goals. Just paying it forward, kind of thing.
Yeah. I love it. And there is this feeling, not to go religious at all, but it's like when you serve others, you feel better about yourself. And I
Uh-huh.
think that's not just religion, that's just, I think, human nature. And there is this beautiful thing that happens when you are like, you help someone else not only find running, but a place that they feel like they can come and do it safely. I think
Yeah,
that's amazing, and it's fun to when you, like, look at the people, whether you brought them or you've just friended them, and they come because they're like, "Oh, I know her," or, "Oh, I know him, and he's got my
yeah.
back," or, "She's got my back." So, I love that you bring that up. That's super, super cool. Well, let's jump into this. I am very excited to hear, when did running first enter your life? I'm excited about this because I maybe you have told me, I just don't know if I know this story. So, when did running enter your life?
So I think, we had mandatory sports when I was a kid at our schools, and so I think there was one year I ran track. It didn't grab me or any. It was I did it because I had to, like, I had to do a
Mhm,
sport. But that prequel kind of is, I think, actually really started in 2012. My We were in California. My husband was in the Air Force. We were stationed at Travis Air Force Base, and my friends Patsy and Christina were like, "Hey, we're going to do the Pasadena Rock and Roll Half Marathon." It was the inaugural year for that race. You should do it. I'm not running. I'm not in shape. I'm not doing anything reasonably similar to, a running lifestyle. So naturally, I'm like, okay, and so go do that. It was pretty horrendous in many ways, like because I was ill prepared. I had no idea what I was doing. But I was thinking about it the other day, and one moment that stands out from that experience for me was, I don't know what mile I was in, but I was dying. And somebody going by me and just, "You got this. You can do it. Keep going. You got this." And it's like, that's just that's what you get with running. That is just wherever it's been, it just seems to be pervasive of people cheering each other on. And that was sort of a one and done experience for me.
mhm.
And then a couple years later, and I think it was about 2014, my interest sparked again, and there was a great running race series in Davis, California that, I can't remember what it was called, but it was a bunch of, like, 5Ks and 10Ks, so it felt very accessible, very manageable, and so I did that race series 1 year, and then I think the following year did part of it, but it kind of fizzled out, at that point in time. And I know looking back, it's like, well, I didn't have a community. I didn't have people that I was running with really. Um, there were a couple of my friends from being a, military family that I knew that we would do that together, but the military separates you at different points in time. So we all kind of moved on our different ways. And so it just kind of fizzled out. And it really wasn't until I moved here and again, my friend Patsy, and it was really her daughter Madison. I was like, hey, I'm doing Rebel Big Cottonwood Canyon half marathon. You guys should do it with me. She was talking to me and her mom and did that, but it stuck. And that
Mhm.
was kind of the difference. So 2014 was like dipping my toe in the water. But 2022 is really where it started for me. And I think the big element again is like community, along with like, okay, what can I maybe do with this? And learning those early lessons about myself.
That's super cool. I always love to hear people's, like, intro into running because it's funny when you think back about it, because I always, like, think back to I liked running when I was, like, in junior high. That's when I first ran the mile. It wasn't what it was now by any means. I did an LDS mission, 2-year mission to Houston, Texas. I'd go run, like, 2 miles with, my companion, whatever, but it wasn't really, like I never was into it. I remember early on when I would say this was maybe I think I've shared this a few times now, but it's like 12, 13 years ago now. I remember the first time I ran like 4 miles, and I remember being like, "What was that?" Something clicked, like, it was weird. I
Mhm.
was like, "Ooh, that was something." That was like I actually really enjoyed that, and I'm like, 4 miles? Like, who just goes and runs 4 miles? Like, what's the point of running 4 miles? Like, I remember being like in football in high school, like, I would run the whatever they said, and I was good at it, like, because I've been naturally gifted, especially before the knee stuff. I was good at it, and I could run distance, and I was never a problem. And I remember just like and so, fast forward to, whatever that was, 2013, I was like, "There's something here. There's something
Mhm.
different about doing this." And so it's kind of fun when you think back about it and you tell yourself, like, "Man," like, I remember those thoughts early on and being like, "What is this?" Like, and
Mhm.
do I even wanna continue to do this? So it's cool to hear that you were like, I did a race, but then it kinda just fizzled out. Then I did another one, kinda fizzled out again. And then all of a sudden, boom, it hit. And that's when you found it. So I get that. I have a question for you back because you said something about that 2012 race, which was fascinating. Have you had an opportunity to tell somebody on a race, hey, you got this?
Oh, for sure. So my favorite runs or races that we do here are the out and backs.
Hmm.
And if you are running near me or, cross my path in any way, I am the person who is screaming at people.
Let's
And if
go. I
I know
love it.
your name, I'm going to shout your name out. It is so fun to see other people out accomplishing whatever their goal is, pushing themselves. And so like the 5K that we had with the Winter Running Series, was an out and back this year and it was fabulous and it was fast and it was flat and people were just crushing it and so many PRs that day. And it was so exciting to see. And that charges me up.
Hmm.
If I can be focused on cheering on other people, then my mindset's different. I'm out of my head in terms of like this sucks, this is hard, whatever. And so I love doing it. A few years ago when we had, and it's coming up again, the 10 miler for the Winter
Hmm.
Running Series, Rebecca Lockhart's birthday falls on or around that. And so I remember, the first year doing that and I starting to get people or get to know people in the running group and running past her and shouting, "Happy birthday, Rebecca!" and just being super stoked about it. And just that fun little moment of being able to
Hmm.
do that.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, the reason why I asked this story, because I mean, I wanted you to say that you've done it, which is awesome. I know we're us forwarding quite a bit here from where we're at in 2022 to Mueller Trail Half Marathon in 2025. I was a mess. I had just barely finished not only the Wasatch 100 and Bear 100, and then the week after the Bear 100, I paced my buddy on the DC Peaks, which was an absolute just awful, awful race because of the rain and the race is
Mhm.
awesome. The race is awesome. I'm just saying the weather was a nightmare this year
Yeah,
or
it
in
was terrible.
2025. And I know you were up at the Northern Utah Trail Experience or not, as they call it,
Mhm.
up there in Weber County. That same day was a nightmare, but the week after, so many of us were running the Mueller Trail Half
Mhm.
Marathon, and
Yep.
I'm a mess. I'm trying to do it. I'm doing my very best. I remember my hips were on fire, my knees didn't feel good, and I remember with like a mile and a half to 2 miles left in the race, I am doing the best I can to shuffle down the trail. And it's not really that technical. It's a little
Mhm.
technical. It's got some rocks and whatnot, but I'm doing my best just to get down. And I've seen all of my friends pass me and they're just like, right, you're doing awesome for being here. And I just wanted to be a part of the community. And I knew there's no way I was racing. But I remember you coming by me and you were so kind and you're like, "Are you okay?" And you're like checking in on me. You're being like that really good friend that just is like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Chrissy, I'm fine. I'm just hurting too bad. Like I can't." But you were like, "We've got this." And you're like, "I know you got this. Let's go." And I'm like, "Thanks, Chrissy." I was like, I'm like, part of me is like, "Of course I know I got this, Chrissy. I've done this a few times." But part of me was just so grateful that you would
Mhm.
like say that to me because so many people I think they come across me and they're just like, "Hey, Ryan," and then they just kind of fly past. They didn't want to say
Mhm.
anything. But you were like, "Are you okay?" Like, and you're like, "We got this. Let's go." And I'm like, I will be right behind you. You just go, just do your thing." And I'm just doing my best to survive right now. It just meant a lot. I love when things like that happen. And it
Yep.
was just so cool to see because that was, and I we'll get to this, but that was when you were in this tirade of race after race after race
Yeah.
last fall. And again, we're gonna get to where how she started, and then when you hear about this, you're gonna be just taken back. And this is where, like, as I've said on other podcasts, and like as I said with Eric Setterfield in the last episode, or 2 episodes ago, sorry, I'm a off by one now. Um, Me and Eric talked about how a 20-mile long run on a Saturday seems impossible to a lot of people,
Mhm.
and I get it. You've never done it before. It's like, what the crap? Especially if you're like, I've never run a marathon and now you want me to go do 20 miles on a Saturday. But the more time you do it, the years as they go by, it becomes um I don't know if attainable is the right word, but it's
Mhm.
something that now becomes more in your head. It's more realistic, it's achievable because you've done it before. And that to me is the game changer, I think, and especially as I've seen your progression over the past few years, how you just have continually stayed consistent, and there's no surprise about what you're doing right now, what you're achieving, and I know that I speak for many of us in the community when we say it's gonna be a special year for you because you've done
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited for Ogden this year. I think it's, to that point of like the moment where 20 miles feels like, whoa, what? And I still like, I know it's in my plan. It's coming. You've
Mhm.
warned me. Like, and it's still, even though I've done the marathon, it's like, oh, that feels big. But the more, I remember starting training where like a 6 mile run would feel really big or, 10 miles, like that's a really long. And now it's like, oh, I only got 10 miles on my long run. And, the mindset really shifts. It just comes with patience and time and practice.
Yep. It's about endurance, right? And
Hmm.
and it's like anything in life, right? Whether that's getting used to working a 9 to 5, 40-hour job, whether it's, you become a parent for the first time.
Yeah.
There is a lot of shock value for all of our young listeners listening to this right now. Being a parent for the first time, um Yeah, you don't know what you're doing. There's no
Oh,
playbook,
no.
there's no book that tells you how to do it, and you kinda learn on the fly, and a lot of times you're just like, "Okay, well, I just changed this diaper and they just went to the bathroom again, so let's do this
Yep,
again." And it's patience and it's, long suffering. It's being, just committed to a cause, and in a lot of ways, that's endurance with running is it doesn't happen overnight. Nah,
nope,
nobody does that. Some people think, "Oh, well, this person's just a gifted athlete." And people are like, especially when they say it to me, they're like, "Oh, you can go out and bust out a 20-mile run, any weekends you want." I'm like, "Yeah, it's been built over 13 years." So it
yeah,
wasn't done overnight. It didn't happen yesterday. It's taken a long time, and that's what I try to tell people is I'm like, if you're patient with yourself and you give yourself grace because it's okay to have bad days and bad runs, you'll get there. And some people get there faster, some get there slower, and that's okay.
yep.
We happens for all of us. So, cool. All right. Well, let's go back in time. We'll quit talking about the future. 2022. What happened in 2022? Why'd you even get into this? Why are you even running? Why are you doing all this
So,
crazy stuff?
I mean, it again, it started with my friend Patsy and her daughter Madison. Madison is 24 at the time,
Yeah.
she's young and athletic, played college hockey, we're up camping. They are our best friends, Patsy and Chris, and um her kids, their kids are really special to us. My husband officiated Madison's wedding.
Oh, awesome.
So we're camping with them, and Madison is talking to her mom and I and saying, I'm going to do this race. You guys should do it with me. It is okay. It's that race is like second weekend of September.
Mhm.
This was probably the last weekend of July, maybe first weekend of August.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like we'd just gotten our treadmill, I think. Having been here for a couple of years, had been like doing some hiking and that kind of stuff, but really not engaged in consistent physical activity. So
Y
naturally, of course, the response is okay. And got home that weekend and signed up and did what I could in like 6 weeks to train for that thing. Um, that race is so downhill, um, which gave me speed I didn't deserve to have until it flattens out, and then you're like, "What is this?" But it was, it was fun, and Patsy and I were next to each other the whole time, and I remember one moment where the marathoner lead comes, you know, flying by us. And Patsy had been at a race, like the weekend before, a couple weekends before, where the winner of the marathon that the Rebel race that we were doing, he had been in the lead for the prior race that they were at, and he took a wrong turn and
uh,
it cost him the race. And she knew the story and she told me the story and was just in, and as he went by, everybody was just like on fire about him, like super excited
that's
because
cool.
so many people knew. And so it was just like getting that taste of what the community is like.
Yeah.
Um, and then having this moment where the last couple miles it flattens out. I'm dying. I'm struggling. I know nothing about nutrition. I knew nothing about hydration. Like, I know nothing about running. I had no business being on that course, but there I was. And Patsy is feeding me miniature Snickers bars to get me to the finish line. That was my fuel, were the little mini Snickers bars.
Yeah.
And we crossed and it was great. It felt really great. It was a lot of fun. And it was just kind of like, okay, that was fun. It was not totally painful, disastrous experience. That was 2012 for me. And I think it just kind of sparked something in me of like, okay, I, I want to look more into things. And I started to learn about, what was more local, like the Ogden Winter Running Series and the Ogden Marathon. And so for 2023, I did the Ogden half for the first year that year. And I did the Winter Running Series. And those were my first introductions of it. And it was, I think, at those races, at the Winter Running Series and whatnot, I started to meet people in the
Mhm.
community. Um, I think I did the first group run actually in 2024.
Awesome.
But that it started with Rebel, and I have to laugh because the two. intros that I have to running, my friend Patsy are part of those stories.
That's so cool. I'm not gonna lie, that's exactly like what you've experienced with Patsy. I have experienced with like Nate Allred. He is someone that has been there for me on every one of my hundreds. And to me, he just means the world to me. Like
Yeah.
he's someone I would do anything for just because we're brothers. Like we may not be blood, but we are family, no
Mhm.
question. So
Yep.
I get you 100%. I do want to just give people a little bit more context on these Revel races. You may be familiar with them, because there are multiple of them. You know, multiple. I know there's Big Bear in California. There's Mount Charleston in Nevada. Um, I'm trying to remember some of the others, but here in Utah we have the Big Cottonwood Canyon one, and it is it's a beast. It's awful.
Mhm.
I have done the marathon, I believe, 3 times, if I remember correctly, and I am officially retired from doing that
Yeah.
marathon. When people say to me, "Oh, Ryan, you know, you can do Wasatch 100 that has, 24,000 feet of up and down," and you're like, "You won't go back to Revel," and I'm like, what that race does to a human's body is not
Yeah.
right, and it messed me up. Every time I've done it, it has messed me up so bad. One time I tore a quad, and I
Oh.
swore, I was like, "I'll never do that again." So, for you, I think it's impressive. I say all this because, it's just giving context because for you to do the half marathon and then you still wanna do it after how bad that race can be.
Yeah.
And again, I know you did the half, but the half starts about 8 miles from the start of the race, and then you guys the full marathon does a little it did an out and back, and you guys go all the way. Anyways, long story short, you still have a lot of downhill, like probably almost 3,000 feet of downhill.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, once you get down to where it flattens out, everyone thinks, oh, well, okay. And then maybe now it's going to probably feel a little bit better. It won't be so steep and whatnot. No, the flat feels like you're going uphill now.
Yep. It felt like a brick wall.
Yeah.
It was
It's,
just
yeah.
horrendous.
Yeah, it is, and it's awful, and, like, that's why it's funny that you've had that same experience because everybody I talk to feels the same way. They're like, "It is so rough." And listen, Revel does an amazing job. I think their
Yeah.
races are great. I enjoy them. 'Em. I've done multiple, not just, Big Cottonwood, but they are rough, and if you are not prepared for that kinda training, doing downhill, extreme downhill, you're in for it.
Yeah.
You're in for a treat. So, awesome. Well, take us to, 2024. What happened 2024 and got you start going to the group runs and stuff?
I think it just again, I started with the winter running series and I decided to I had done the Ogden half in 23. And it was a really interesting experience because that was not like I'd been training like for the half marathon. I didn't have my coach yet. I didn't have like structure.
Mhm.
Still didn't really know what I was doing. Um, but one of the things that I did benefit from in 23 was the ambassadors
Yeah.
and the Instagram takeovers, and I learned from them about things like fueling and nutrition and that kind of stuff. And for 23, the thing that was a little, that I experienced with that was I got really sick like 2 weeks beforehand. Totally took me out. So I went into that race just like, I'm just going to go do. If I need to walk part of this, I'm going to walk it. Like, and it was super slow. I just wanted to go have the experience and finish. And it was great. Like I did. And it was a beautiful day. We had great weather. Um, and it was just fun because I had started to, like I said, get to know some people a little bit from the running community, seeing people at the finish line. And so that charged me up for the next year. But it was, I think in 24 that, I started to, I didn't go to a ton of the group runs that year. It was really, I dove in last year.
Mhm.
But there was enough safety created at
Mhm.
the winter running series races of like, I'm gonna go try this group run out and I'm gonna go see what it's like. And it was super out of my comfort zone. Um, really having to challenge the conversation inside my head about I don't belong here, I'm not fast enough, they're all gonna just leave me in their dust kind of thing.
Mhm.
But it was I'm gonna try it and I'm gonna see what this is like. And I think I did 2 group runs that year. But it was enough of an experience and a welcoming experience that then come training time for the next year, I was like, "Okay, I'm all in.
That's
Let's do this
awesome.
thing."
That's awesome. I think I remember you coming to a couple of those runs in
Mhm.
2024. And I remember thinking like, she's awesome. I'm glad she's here. It'd be fun to see you come out more. But also in that same sense too, like you said, I never want to be that person that's like forcing people or like,
Yeah.
twisting their arm to show. I'm always like, hey, come out, come run with us. We're a good group. We're just a bunch of crazy fools that, instead of us sleeping in on a Saturday, like 95% of the population does, we go for runs on Saturday morning, bright and
Yeah.
early. And it's just been fun to see that. So that's awesome. So, you fast forward, we get to 2025. What did you do in 2025?
I lost my mind and signed up for the full marathon. That's
Let's
what I did.
go. Yeah, let's go. That's awesome. So 2025, you signed up for the Ogden Marathon. What happened with all
Yes.
that?
Um, a lot of growth, a lot of learning, painful lessons. Um, it was, I mean, it was not what I had thought it would be, um, in so many different ways.
Mhm.
It's, I got majorly derailed. It's funny because I'm thinking about, okay, we're almost to that time of year where the wheels fell off. I'm very, very much aware of it right now. For 24, I did the half. I felt strong. I felt good. Here comes Patsy again in my story. She ran the full, and it was like watching her come across the line. Prior to that moment, had you asked me if I would ever run a full marathon, it would have been, "Oh, no way. You're out of your mind."
Yeah.
And my experience with the half marathon and just how good it felt, and then seeing my friend come across that finish line, it was like, "Okay, maybe I wanna do this." And so, I thought about it, I sat on it, and then, made that decision, to train for the full, and then called you and was like, "Yeah, this is what I wanna do, but I need you to coach me."
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. I remember you reaching out, and I remember I was actually down here in my basement, like I'm talking to you now, having this conversation. And I was just like, "Chrissy, you'll do it. Like, you did great at the half." I always say, if you can run a half, you can run a full. It's just a little bit more, endurance, a little bit more work, you'll get there. And, I have some other crazy thoughts I could tell you about, if you could run a full marathon, then you can run 100 miles, but we'll save that discussion for another guest. As you talked to me about that, I was like, "You'll do it. You'll do just great." And so it was fun to tell you because like when I coach my athletes, I mean, listen, I'll coach you as long as you want, but I've always said like I want to coach you when it means the most. And so I was
Mhm,
like, if you want to start early, we can start early, but this is what I'd recommend. Let's focus like on a 20-week plan. And I think we started a little bit sooner than that,
mhm,
but I was like, focus on a 20-week plan and let's really dial it in. Continue to keep moving. We'll build your base up again as well, but let's do it. And I just remember you attacked it. Like you were on fire. The one thing it's funny because as I've been a coach now for a few years here, 3 years, something like that. Um, the one thing that you get all kinds of athletes. You get athletes who are that are they hit probably 75 to 80%, which is great. You get athletes who are a little unmotivated, and that happens. And then you get athletes like Christy, who, when I give her permission to take a Sunday off because I see her fatigue levels are out of control, she's like, Ryan, I don't give myself excuses not to run. I really need to stay to it. And I love having Christy as an athlete. But I'm just saying, I'm like, Christy, it's okay. And she's like, no, I have to lock in on this.
mhm.
And so it's been good. And I know you'll listen to me if I was like, no, you got to really stop. And I know we actually got to a point like that. Why don't you tell us what
Yeah.
happened? Because I want you to tell this story because there's going to be many people who have the same experience this year.
Yeah.
And many people are going to go through exactly what you did last year. And it was tough. I know it was tough for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. It was, yeah, that was brutal what happened. So I was, yeah, it was end of March is really kind of this pivotal moment in my training last year where I remember we were doing an group run. It was a Saturday morning. I had an 8 mile run and we were running out in Riverdale. So we met at the Target and did the path. And, you know, things were kind of talking to me. Like my hip was kind of starting to talk to me and that kind of stuff. And by mile 4, it was like pain, like legit pain, not discomfort, not sore, like legit pain.
Yeah.
Um, and it was so frustrating. And I had to like hit my turnaround point to head back. And I remember trying to run and like
Yeah.
limping through it and then walking and running and finally just like I gotta walk. I just gotta walk. And it's
Sure.
funny because it's one of those moments that is simultaneously like really frustrating, but it also held one of those just really uplifting moments about the running community where I I was walking and here comes Zach. And I didn't really know Zach very well at that point in time. And he stops and he slows down and he's walking with me and he checks in with me like, "Hey, are you doing okay? How, what's going on?" And he walked with me for a little bit, talked with me, talked me up, kind of not in the sense of like you can do it and go run and like, but just you're going to be okay. These things kind of happen. And then, he continued on his run. But it was just so I remember that moment and it was just like I was so grateful to have another one of those key moments within our community where somebody is just going to check in and make sure we're okay. Um, and I, finished the run. I remember like posting about it and just, I was actually looking up my Strava post from it not that long ago and just the frustration. I remember feeling the frustration and the letdown. And then probably a few days later or something, I tried another run. I got 1 mile in on the treadmill and it was just done. And I remember sitting in my basement, sending you a message like in tears about it because it was so not in the plan, right? It was
Yeah.
not, this was not what was supposed to happen. And it felt like I'm done. Like Ogden's not going to happen. It just felt like really, really, it was just very defeating. What I've learned looking back is there were warning signs I was not paying attention to.
Mhm.
That I'm gonna get every mile, I'm gonna do every run. I know I need not to always take that approach. Because if there's discomfort or coworkers are like, "Why are you limping?" "Oh, I'm just sore from my run, not that big of a deal." No, Christy, like, pull your head out of your butt. Like,
Yeah.
come on. Um, so that was, it and it was end of March. We were what, about 6 to 8 weeks, 6, 7 weeks out from the race. Um, I was fortunate enough to get into PT, like, right away. I couldn't like, I messaged my primary care, was like, "Hey, here's the deal. This is what's going on. I have the Ogden Marathon in the middle of May. Can I get a PT referral?" And it happened that I got in within, like, a week, and I had a great PT, and he gave me exercises, and that diligence of following my running plan went into my PT.
Mhm.
It was like, instead of running every day, I'm doing my PT exercises every day, everything like
Yeah.
that. And it worked out, because I made it to the start line and I made it across the finish line ultimately.
Yeah.
But it was a really, like, humbling kind of experience, and there were a lot of lessons learned, uh, in that process.
That's awesome. All right. I want to unpack this a little bit because this is one of those moments in our conversation that I think is super important. And I think everybody needs to, anyone listening to this can learn from your example here. So the first thing I want to touch on is when things were doom and gloom, what did you do?
Mhm. So I focused on what was under my control. I kept the goal in mind, even though, yeah, it felt like, especially in those initial moments, you have those catastrophic thoughts like, this isn't going to happen. I'm done. But then it's like, okay, what's under my control?
Yeah.
My sister's a physical therapist. Her husband was a physical therapist. So it was like very familiar with that profession and like how valuable it is. And so it was like, okay, let me see if I can get into PT. Um, and again, stars aligned in terms of getting in as quickly as I could. Um, and it was, yeah, following his recommendations to help me get back to where I wanted to be. Um, and doing the other things that I could in terms of whether nutrition or hydration, um, KT taping, that kind of stuff. And I went and got new shoes. Like, what can I do? Similar to what Nate talked about actually on his podcast of like, what can I problem solve here?
Yeah.
But then also paying attention to my mindset. What was the conversation like inside my head?
Yeah.
I can spiral into this is unfair and I can't believe this is happening, or I can, recognize that thinking's not going to serve me. So what's a different perspective that I can take on this to help me stay moving forward?
One little saying to kind of summarize it is go to work. It,
Mhm.
there's work to still be done. And I love what you said because, just to relate it to my example of, doing the Wasatch 100 this year, 100 miles, it's tough enough feat as is. Mile 5, I get stung by 8 wasps, and
Mhm.
then a mile later, I get stung by 4 more wasps, 4 plus. Let me put it that way. I know it's 12. I've got pictures of the 12 stings on my body. There are more than that. I just stopped at
Right.
12. I don't know what the number is. But like you said, which I love, and it hits so deep, is that I could have said it's over. And 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 a lot of people would have been okay with that. Like a lot of people have been
Mhm.
like, dude, that makes total sense. You should stop. Like getting stung, you've got wasp venom flowing through your body and it is hurting. And it did hurt. And my heart rate kept skyrocketing. I was a mess. And I've done a little bit of chat GPT about it. Maybe I should have stopped. I don't know. There's some questionable things that we did there, but that's what ultra runners do. But I told myself this is what I can control. I can
Mhm.
walk at a pretty fast pace and keep my heart rate around 150. Um, I can walk usually around a 110, but because of the vet wasp venom, that's all I had. So I said, I'm going to push it a little bit and just see what I can do. I'm going to try to control what I can. I'm gonna get to Zach at mile 32 at Big
Yep.
Mountain. I'm gonna have him pace me, and we're just gonna continue to go until I get pulled from the race. And if I get pulled from the race, I will have known that I didn't let the circumstances stop me. I kept fighting, I kept going, and at the end of the day, it wasn't my choice. I gave everything I had to try to make this happen. And that's the thing that I love about your mindset is with this whole thing because like you said, there are situations in life, and I'm not saying that DNFing or not doing a race is a bad thing. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is if there are those opportunities and you can sit here and say to yourself, okay, I got a problem solve. How do I fix this? How do I get to it? You can continue to push because it's not always all lost. It's not like, oh,
Mhm.
well, I just had this majorly happen. I mean, Zach's a living example. Zach just broke his foot playing with his dogs a few weeks ago. And Zach's a good friend, Zach Vigil, great friend of ours, just an awesome person in the community. But he broke his foot a few weeks back. And, when I first talked to him, he was pretty down on himself. And he's like,
Yep.
forget my goals for Ogden Marathon. And I was like, bro, just breathe. You're gonna be fine. And he was awesome. He actually was like, you're right. I need to just breathe. And he is back on track. And I won't be surprised if he PRs Ogden this year. So
Yep.
I love that mindset, Chrissy. I think that really resonates. I think it's such a good mindset, and it's something that people need to hear because inevitably there's going to be quite a few people who face similar things like you do. Um, how do you think you're going to feel when you get past the end of March and then first of April and you're healthy? What do you think's going to happen?
I think I'm gonna breathe a big sigh of relief there of just, okay, I made it. And again, it's lessons learned. Hindsight's always 2020. I laugh when you were talking about, like, so Christy's the athlete who's just gonna do all the runs and execute, and I'm, yes, still very much that person, but a little bit more willing to say, "Hey, I think I need an extra day for
Yeah,
recovery," or, we've had conversations y since we started the training for this year of just the stats on my watch were weird, and it was like, "Okay, let's look at this," and we built in an extra day of recovery because it was just like things were off.
yeah,
Um, and then paying attention also to how I feel physically and not minimizing it, not just like chalking it off to like, "Oh, I'm sore." No, that was something to pay attention to. I'm not having any of those experiences. One, because I know I'm stronger this year than I
yeah,
was last year, but also I'm smarter about it.
yeah.
So I think, yeah, once I think it was March 29th was when that 8-mile run happened. I think when that day comes and goes, I'll probably be very grateful to see that go
That's
by
awesome.
and be okay.
Well, it's really funny because I don't know if this was by coincidence or I guess it was the day before. So the March 28th was for me on Antelope Island when I left the halfway point at mile 50 and took that one step out of that aid station. That was when I broke that barrier that I had set up for myself on that race
Mhm.
of the Antelope Island Buffalo 100, where I had DNF'd in 2023. And for me to take that one step out of the tent, Joe was with me and I just broke down crying. And she's like, "Are you okay?" And I just said, "Joe, this is where I DNF last, 2 years ago." And I'm like, I didn't know how this would go. I was
Mhm.
really scared about how this would be because I remember being broken. I was a
Yeah.
broken runner going, getting in my car and leaving 2 years earlier. And now to be who I am 2 years later, and right, like, or maybe you don't know, but like everybody thinks you're a badass runner right now. We all do, every one of us. But I know in your head, you probably feel a little bit different. I know people think the same thing about me. I've heard people say all kinds of stuff, but I'm like, you don't realize that there have been times and multiple times throughout all this running stuff that I have been very weak. I have been very much beating myself down. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm not as good as what people think I am. And when you do break these barriers that you have made up in your head, if you will,
Yeah.
it's a game changer. And that's why I'm excited for you because not only do I know you're a stronger runner, and I'm not worried about March 29th at all, but um, you've come a long way. You've learned a lot. You're smart.
Yeah.
You're paying attention to your body. You're talking to me a ton. Yet, not that you didn't last year, but you are this year and and you're just attacking it. You're ego free. So you're like, listen, I don't care what it is. I just want to go have a great day at the Ogden Marathon and then go from there. So I'm excited because you're gonna pass March 29th and you're gonna be like, boom, and you're just gonna keep going. So
I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, cool. Take us to the Ogden Marathon. What happened there?
I finished. I mean, that was I went in with no goal, like, it's so common. What's your time goal? What do you want to, what do you want to get? That kind of thing. I had none of that because it was, again, had to be realistic. Let's be brokered in reality. I got taken out of my training pretty significantly for a good chunk at a vital time. Um, and so it was like, I just want to go do. And most of it was great. Like it was, there's moments like being at the start line and just seeing everybody there. I'm so excited for this year. I mean, it's just gonna be there's gonna be so many people that we know doing the
Mhm.
Ogden Bowl this year, and it's just like the start line's gonna be amazing. But it was just so fun to be there. And it was you think about like the why and what does that mean and it was like I got to really tap into last year about I get to do this, you
Mhm.
know? I I I got through the issues that I was having with my hip. I got to heal. I got to get back to running. And I don't know if you remember, like the shirt that I had on said Foxtrot uniform Charlie Kilo Cancer. um,
Mhm.
which, if you know your military alphabet, you can translate that.
Yep.
um, and it was I consciously picked that because two people who were really important to me were battling cancer at that point in time. And one of them is part of our community, and the other one was my brother-in-law. And it was just like, I'm gonna go do this. And these miles, these 26.2 miles, I get to dedicate to them. And I
Yeah.
get to really hold them and carry them with me here.
Yeah.
And it was cool to have that experience. There are some really fun moments. Teresa and I ran many of the miles together, and she was there when I did my half marathon run back after my injury.
Mhm.
Um, and she and I just cruised together. I remember at like mile 6, somebody had a sign that said, "You're almost there." Like, no, I'm not. I still got 20 more to go, man. But it made
Jeez.
me laugh. It actually, I was like, okay, I know you're poking fun, so I can laugh.
Yeah.
So it was, and I remember getting to the half marathon point because there was a relief
Mhm.
because I'd seen that part of the race. I knew what was coming after
Mhm.
that. And so that was, it felt good. The last few miles were hard.
Yeah.
They were really, they were really hard. My stomach was starting to kind of like just not tolerate any more fuel. I couldn't do gels anymore. Couldn't just I just like sugar. It couldn't handle sugar anymore. I
Mhm.
felt sick. And so it was like water, fruit, if it was there, that was okay. And I remember struggling through those last few miles, but getting text messages from you. We're here. We're waiting for you. You got this. And making it across that finish line and being so excited about it. It's like I just ran a freaking marathon. Never in a million, and I was a month shy of turning 45.
So cool. That is so stinking cool. I remember you coming in and, I can tell this from a different couple of different perspectives. I remember Zach, he'd been there for like almost 2, 3 hours, just seeing people come through. And he said that he was like leaving because he's like, I got to go home eventually. But then he checked the tracker and saw you were coming down the road, so he hurried and flipped around and went right back to the road to cheer you on.
Yeah, I
And he's like,
remember
"It was
seeing him.
so cool to see Chrissy come flying through." And I'm just cheering for her like crazy. And I'm like, and then I remember I kept looking at the tracker and I was
Mhm.
like, she's coming, she's coming. And so I'm just like going berserk, waiting for you to come through. And just so proud of you. Just so proud of you. For the injury you had sustained and you stayed in the game mentally, you pushed through, right? Maybe it hadn't been the pace she exactly wanted per se, but we changed up our mindset where we went, you know what? Let's not worry about your pace. Let's
Mhm.
just focus on you getting across the finish line. That's all.
Yeah,
Let's just get you there. If that way we can do that, because right, you'd taken so many weeks off when you had sustained this injury that I mean, naturally your fitness had gone down a little bit.
yep,
And so we were concerned. I was a little concerned, but I said, let's see if we can get a couple of long runs in here before we take you to the marathon. And you did them. You did them in a healthy state, and there was no issues. And I was like, okay, I think we're good. I say, let's go. Let's see it happen. And like you said, it was fun to see you. It's fun to see the whole crew,
yeah,
Tim, Joe, myself, my brother, Nate. I mean, we're all up there at the start line of Ogden Marathon. Just amazing experience. Everyone's there. We're all having a party. It's gonna be so, like you said, it's gonna be a blast this year because it's 25th anniversary. I
yes.
mean, it's gonna be everybody's there. It's gonna be chaos, pure chaos. But I'm excited for it. But so it was so cool to see you do that. You get through the finish line. I'm just so proud of you. And I remember you coming. We kind of talking after that, and you're like, "Well, what do I think you should do?" And I said, "You know what? You should go have fun. Have fun running for the next
Mhm.
3 or 4 months. Go have fun because 'cause you're like, "I run, I wanna work with you again as when we do the Ogden Marathon again in 2026." I said, "Great, let's work together. But go have fun, go do you." And I remember part of me thinking, "I don't know if she will. I don't know if she'll continue to maintain her fitness base, continue to push herself." What did you do?
Um, 3 races, 3 weekends in a row.
Did you
and
stop
more in the
running?
fall. Yeah, no, I definitely did not. I was not running the same amount, like, as training for Ogden. I really it's so funny. I say this often, like, it takes a special group of people to get me to want to get up earlier on a Saturday than I do for work.
Yep.
Like, oftentimes up at 4:30 in the morning to go meet people to run, but it's so fun,
Yep.
And the running, it kind of for me, it shifts more to trails after Ogden Marathon, and there's just a different vibe with it, and there's, like, a different kind of freedom that comes with that, and it's super fun. Maybe it wasn't the intensity or the frequency that I had with while training for Ogden, but I definitely stayed in it, and again, largely because I have this community where it's just
Yeah.
like, I wanna go see these people, and I wanna hear how everybody's doing, not just with respect to their running, but in their lives. We just how are you doing? What's going on? And, so I mean, we did a group run, Old Snow Basin Road, and it was your birthday, mine, and Tim's. And it was just like,
And you brought, like
hey,
and you brought
I brought
cookies or whatever,
cookies.
you cupcakes or whatever it was for everybody. I'm like, "What the freak, dude? It was so cool." And you're like, "Dude, I brought this for everybody." I'm like, "Let's go, like, this is awesome." I mean,
Yeah,
that's the community that, like, we've built, like, it's so
yeah.
cool. Like, we do these things together, and I don't know, like, I think that's the hardest part for me is, like, I think about, like, I go to my trail runs and I have to prepare for my trail races in the fall, but I still, like I like to still get together and do all this with everybody because like, at the end of the day, it's still fun to get the crew together and run, and so, like you said, that was fun. That was such a blast to do that. Well, I appreciate you telling me, all these race experiences. I don't know if there really is much more to say about your why. You've really touched on it for the most part, but, you know, if there is anything left, if there's something that you haven't discussed about your why, what is it? Why do you continue to do this like all these years later, even with the setbacks, with the successes, because sometimes people get drunk on the success. They were like, I did it once. I don't need to do it again. And I'm great, I think my wife would prefer if I do that. She's like, "You've done it. You have nothing left to prove, Ryan. You've ran 100 miles and you've done it a few times. Just stop. You got nothing to prove." And I'm like, "Oh, there's so much more than that." But yeah, why do you do this? Why do you keep doing it? Like, what is your why?
So I think, I mean, obviously, like we've talked about the community that people place in purpose, but I think also for me, so I'm a mom to two girls, and I want them to see what a healthy life can look like, what a strong body looks like. I want them to have like a good relationship with their body, because as a woman, like there's so much pressure and expectation, and especially it seems like right now that super skinny, like semaglutide weird body, it just is like that's coming back, and um I want them to know this is what healthy looks like, and this is what your body can do, and it can do amazing things. And so one of the best ways for me to help instill that for them is to be a role model of just like we're going to take care of ourselves, and if you do that, like you can do these amazing things, you can have these incredible experiences, and so having that, and it's and for me, like to maintain that healthy relationship that I have with my body in the sense of like, this is a healthy, strong body and it can do really incredible things. Um, and even, at the 10K just what last weekend, standing at the finish line, and I don't know who she is, but there was a woman who came across the finish line who is, I mean, looks like she could be, maybe even in her 80s or something. Like she's, but she's out there running. I don't know if she did the 10K or if she did the short course, doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
she's out there running races. Um, that's cool. And to be in a place that, I'd love to be in that same kind of position where I'm out there cruising still in my 70s, 80s, whatever it looks like. So it definitely is, part of it's about being that role model for my girls in that respect of, and that it can start at any time.
Mhm.
This is there's a moment in my relationship with my husband before we got married that we were in Mammoth Mountain, California. It's ultimately where we got married, but like the town's at like 8,000 some feet. I was not living this kind of lifestyle yet, and we were out riding bikes, and I was struggling. It's probably like a 1% incline on the road. It's a road ride, and he goes, "At least we're getting exercise." And I turned to him and said, "I don't want any effing exercise." And now here I am where it's like, "I'm gonna go run 16 miles tomorrow," and so it was like, it can start at any time. We
Yeah.
don't have to stay in that, place that that's not something that I do or that it's not something I'm capable of. And so it's, that's definitely a big part of my why is for my girls and for myself of seeing like and being that model of like, we can do this at any time and we can do amazing things.
Yeah, I love that. No, thank you for sharing that. And I definitely, like I've said, it's hard for me to always put my why in words because mine is it's like a tree. There are so many roots and there are so
Mhm.
many different reasons. And it's funny because I've always been like, I've got to put this like in a writing. And I don't think I can. But like you, my daughters, that it's important for me to show them that I can run 100 miles. I really don't care what most people think of me. I don't.
Mhm.
I got over that long ago. It's why I post what I do on social media. It's why I post what I do because I'm trying to inspire people to be better. I'm trying to motivate
Mhm.
them. I'm trying to get people to commit to believing in themselves is basic what I'm trying to do. And I don't care if my neighbors think it's stupid. I don't care if my family thinks it's stupid. I'm posting what I want because I'm trying to motivate others. And, when I think about my daughters and, I go and do 100 miler, getting to the end and seeing them is like, it's special. It's really
Yeah.
special for me to see them there. And I always hope that, maybe one day when I'm old and, I'm not doing 100 milers anymore and those days are long gone and maybe it's a 5K if I'm lucky type of a deal, that they think back and they're, remember when dad did that? And they're like, he showed us that you could do hard things, you could do great
Mhm.
things. And that's what really gets me excited. Like
Yeah.
that makes me want to continue to do this, that I can help motivate them to just do good things and be good people. And like you said, I don't care what they look like, and there is these images that aren't fair to people, whatever it is. I
Mhm.
mean, and you spoke about, girls and females, and I totally agree with that. I think there's a perception out there if we just focus on runners that you have to look like a beanpole, if you will, and you have to be
Mhm.
just so skinny, and the only runner worth anything is someone who runs a 2-hour marathon or whatever. And that's exactly why I did this podcast. I've said this now countless times on almost every episode now. I I'll have elites on. I'll have a couple.
Mhm.
I've got some friends that are elite runners, but I want the everyday runner like you and
Yeah.
me. That's why I'm doing this because we have a story. We have so much stuff, whether it's our families, our jobs, our careers, our running careers now, all these things, taking care of our homes, our yards, da 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 da. We have all this crap that we have to do every day. I love to hear these stories. I love to hear the story of someone that's like, I didn't let, my midlife, whatever,
Mhm.
take over. I didn't say, well, I just assumed I was gonna just give up and don't care. I'm gonna keep going. And like you said, there's this 80-year-old lady. I remember I made sure to get over there and give that lady a high five at
Yeah.
the end of the 10K. I walked over and I was like, "You are freaking inspiring." Like if
Yeah.
I hope everyone's looking at you right now because you just set the bar. Like, good luck to the rest of us, because guess what? I'm gonna guess 95% of the people here will not be doing what you're doing at your age. Like, I just know that's gonna be how it is. And it was inspiring. So I love that you shared that last little bit of your why. So thank you. And it brought back some good memories for me. And I'm trying to be a good example to not just my daughters, but to other people. And what we're really trying to accomplish with this podcast is really trying to inspire, and not just inspire, because inspiration always melts away quickly, but really more motivate people to say, hey, you know what, I can be different, I can change, and I can be healthy, be whatever I
Mhm.
am, and have fun, and be in a place where I can feel safe to do it. So I love it.
Yeah.
So thank you. That's awesome. Cool. Well, Chrissy, I've been loving this podcast. You've done great. Let's go to the future. So what does the future hold for you?
Ogden, Cole in May. So what are we,
Nice.
8 wait, how many weeks out are we? About
We
10,
are,
something like that?
yeah, we're about 10, 11 weeks out, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, um, it becomes more trail related kind of things with some exceptions. So, like I Mueller has become a favorite race for me. And then the Northern Utah Trail Fest. I love doing that. That whole
Nice.
experience that Gold Foundation puts together is just such a great like punctuation mark to kind of the summer and um sort of the running season, if like the summer running season, if you will. Um and then I'm doing the Epic Women's Half Marathon again. So it's gonna be
Let's
3 in a row
go.
again.
Heck yeah.
So
I love
I
it.
think it's still gonna end up being 3 weekends in a row. And then I signed up also for the Epic Women's Deer Valley 10K. So
Nice.
that's on my calendar, and I'm excited because it's the thing that's been super fun through all these years is I get a little bit faster every single year. And even on like so Ogden's the thing that I train the most for, right? It's like
Yeah.
I'm more in, whether it's the half or the full, like I'm training, I'm gonna be dialed in and set a goal. The other things are really I just want to go do them and have fun. But even with that, it's still getting better and faster each year. And there have been some pretty significant time improvements that I've had,
Hmm.
and it's exciting to see, and that's on my, post Ogden horizon, and, we'll kinda see. I've learned to not say I'll never do something because 'cause I've
Good.
said that and then I've done it. So, I've learned to not say never. I'll leave the mind open.
I have so much I want to say to that. I'll just leave it at this. One day you'll run 100, so we'll leave it at that. So
Well, again, I've learned not to say never, but that would take a lot.
yeah, well, I think you're closer than you realize, but I digress. So, um, that's awesome. Well, you are a fantastic athlete in my mind. I think you're doing a lot of great stuff. Like I mentioned kind of at the start, you are inspiring and you're motivating, because, years ago, and I can't remember exactly what your pace was, but you're like a 14-minute runner, you go out and do 2 or 3 miles, and that was about the best, you could do. And I'm not saying that's wrong, bad, or indifferent. That's awesome. I mean,
Right,
if that's all someone can do, that's all someone doing. Great, get on, get out there and get some exercise. And then, she does the flat 5K a few weeks back, and she does an 8:57 per mile pace. I mean, wow. Like 6 minutes per mile off of your pace. I just come on, like, come on. Like, that's nuts. And, just one of the craziest but awesome stories from all of this stuff, like all of these races, all the things, our community, just what an inspiring, motivating story of just if Chrissy can do it, so can you type of thing, right? And that's one of
yeah,
my mantras is if I can do it, so can anyone else. And I
right,
really believe that because I'm like, if I can do it with all the fun I have with my knees, like I truly believe others can too. I just appreciate you because I think you are an example to so many people out there, and I guarantee your daughters do look up to you and think, you know what, mom's amazing because she just is killing it in life, and just she's a working professional. She's good at what she does. She's a level-headed, kind person, kind to the community. Community loves her. I mean, you're doing all the right things, Christy. Like, I can't say, and if you ever beat yourself up, trust me, there's so many of us who think the world of you and think you're just an amazing person. And I mean that. Like, there are so many of us who just think you're a great person. And
Oh,
I just appreciate you. I just
thank
appreciate
you.
you. Yeah.
I
S-
I appreciate that. That's, I think too, it's, when you surround yourself with good people, it just brings out the best in you,
It
and
does.
I think that that's what this community has, really done for me is just bringing out parts of myself that I didn't know were there. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the reality of it, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about who Christy is in her mid-40s, and I
Yeah.
think that and it's always all positive from the running community. If you ever wanna be uplifted, join a running group. It's just,
Mhm.
it's been really, such an awesome experience, and so but I appreciate that. I appreciate, those, like, really kind words because it's, I think the world of the people within this community, and, um, I I feel honored to be a part of it.
Well, again, we love having you a part of it, and you're just awesome. So, okay, well, let's get to the lightning round. I'm sure you've heard the lightning round.
I have.
Everyone's starting to know about the lightning round. So let's do the lightning round with you, and same questions as I ask everybody. So I won't trick or do anything crazy with it. So, favorite race distance?
Um, I think, well, oh gosh. So I'm learning to love the marathon. And then the half marathon is definitely, especially on trails. On
Yeah.
trails, the half marathon, I do love that.
Cool.
I
No,
think
I can respect that. As I always say, my favorite distance if I'm racing is the half marathon. I'll always love the half marathon. I think that's my favorite. But if I'm out just having a good old day, 100 miler, no question. Always will be. It hurts, it beats you up, but the adventure of a lifetime. So I love it. So cool. Roads or trails?
both. And again,
No,
it's
choose one. You can't choose
I
them all.
can't do
Choose one.
both.
You got no, don't play that game with
Oh
me. You got to choose
man.
one.
Oh, yikes. I don't know how to choose just one because they both, like I said, serve a purpose. I would probably lean into the roads then, because it's the Ogden Running Club, and it's all that training, and I think it's also where I find so far, although this is changing a little bit too, but I'm finding like, um, that's where I'm learning the most about what speed wise I'm capable of.
Yeah. No, that's fair, and I think yeah, I mean, 100%. You're not gonna be going you won't be doing, not many of us go that fast on the trails, but I'll convince you over the years. We'll get you we'll trade you over to trails. No, I love both as well, but
Yeah.
definitely, I lean a little towards trails at this point, so,
Mhm.
cool. Morning or evening runs?
Uh, eh, usually mornings. Like I do like to start my day that way. My coach monitors my sleep to make sure I'm getting enough. So sometimes I shift to the evenings to make sure I'm getting enough sleep.
So, I just wanna emphasize that because the way that's said, it can
I know
sound very
Ryan's
creepy.
being
I
creepy.
I know. I wanna emphasize I'm over here dying, I'm, like, blushing, I'm sure, I'm, like, all red. I wanna emphasize that I do not watch her while she sleeps, I do not, check on her. I get an update on her Garmin that tells me how many hours she sleeps every night, and I am a big proponent of sleeping when I coach athletes because your body does need the time to recover both mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Yeah.
And so I have made a big push. Every one of my athletes have heard it, not just Christy, have heard it from me about the sleeping thing, this training block, and I won't stop talking about it until we're through the current training block. So, anyways, no, I'm glad you give me a hard time. So, yes, I do monitor everybody's sleep, and I give them grief if they're under 7 hours. Oh, they get it from me. So that's a guaranteed. Um, okay, favorite post run meal. And it can
Homemade
be if
pizza.
you what was that again?
Homemade pizza.
Oh, love it. Awesome. I was gonna
Yep.
say, some people ask me whether it's post race or post run. I'll let you choose, but pizza. Awesome. Homemade
Yeah,
pizza.
so it's the for post-race, um, and specifically post-Ogden, the pizza oven is out, the dough is, this is all my husband's doing, like, he is the master chef in the family, and, it's not just the food, it's an experience, and it is
Let's
just
go.
it's awesome, and so that is, yep, post-marathon is the pizza oven is out front, and we are just making a whole night of it.
That's awesome. Hey, listen, my work and and I think one of my brothers has a pizza oven. And listen, when we do it, it is a treat. It is a blast.
Mhm.
So I'm with you 100%.
Yep.
Um, so we'll ostracize you a little bit with part of the community. Favorite toppings of a pizza. Because this is so controversial.
I
I'm
know.
always
It was
amazed how
like
people
olives and pineapples was the argument or something like that. So there's 2 that we make that I love. One is we used to call it the LSD because it's anise fronds or the fennel fronds, so it's the licorice flavor, sausage and
Mhm.
dates. We renamed it the Cindy because that was my mom's favorite pizza, so we named it in
Nice.
honor of her.
Yeah,
So that one is definitely a winner, and then we have one that's called, we call it Kamomi, which was, a pizza place in Napa Valley that we used to go to. They've shut down, so this is our homage to them, and it's sauteed onion, pancetta, and, Parmesan cheese.
that
And if
sounds
you
good.
aren't careful, it will burn the roof of your mouth like nobody's business.
Oh, wow.
So you have to let it cool because the Parmesan cheese traps all the heat.
Oh, wow. Okay. No, that's interesting. I'm fascinated. I you've been pretty, you've given us a good description of different things. I always say my one ingredient that I have to have on every pizza, and I love it because I get a lot of hate from it. And then I have some people who are like, dude, he gets it. Green olives. Oh, man, they are money. If you have never tried green olives on a pizza, I'm just saying you've missed out. If you have tried and you don't like it, then our friendship just ended. No, I'm just teasing, I'm just teasing. Um, it is my favorite ingredient, it is so good. Love it, love it, love it. So, I know there's a few people out there that agree with me, but, oh, it is so good. I'm like, if I'm doing a pizza anywhere, I go, I'm like, "Do you have green olives? If you don't, I don't know if I want the pizza." So,
Well,
anyways.
maybe we'll try that next time we do pizzas. We'll throw some green olives on and I'll let you know.
I'm just saying it'll change your life. It'll change your life. So, okay, cool, cool, cool. Next one, music, podcasts, or silence on runs.
Music,
Okay, got a deep dive
definitely
on this.
music.
What's on your playlist right now?
Um, so much different stuff. I don't have Enya yet. We'll leave that to Nate.
Called him out. Let's go. Let's go. Nate, she just called you out. I love it. Love it.
But man, if you're needing to do like a super chill run, I could see Enya really working. My playlist is very expansive. I do have 3 different, songs from the score of the Deathly Hallows, like the Harry Potter movies. So I have, some classical stuff, and then I'll have like techno and hard rock. Usually it's things that have like good, strong beats. I'm a huge Sarah McLachlan fan. So all of the stuff that's been remixed of hers, they're likely to find on my playlist for sure.
I love it. No, that's awesome. I love that you called out Nate. I've been teasing him. I'm like, "What were you going for, like a Lord of the Rings fill when you're running bear?" I'm like, "What, dude? What kind of weird crap is that?" And he's like, "Shut up, dude. I don't want to hear it from you." It's been comical. Last two questions I have for you, and then we will wrap it up. I thank you so much for your time today. This has been awesome. It's been so fun chatting with you. What would you say to someone who maybe has lost their why with running?
I really actually agree with what Nate said about, like, find the thing that you're passionate about, and if it's not running anymore, that, that's fine. Just something that you're passionate about. But if you're wanting to stay connected to the running, like in therapy, we kind of look at a lot of times this idea that motivation will follow action. So
Mm,
sometimes it's like, get out and do and see where it takes you, because it's oftentimes actually through that journey and in that process that we reconnect to it, or we find the new thing, you know,
yeah,
the why will change, and it should change.
yeah,
Motivation for change, the things that, you know, like when I talk to my clients, like the things that bring you into recovery are not necessarily going to be the things that keep you in recovery. The things that bring you into running aren't necessarily going to be the things that keep you in running.
yeah,
And so allow it to change. It's okay.
yeah.
The other thing that I would say too is never underestimate how wildly capable you are. Like, don't sell yourself short. Be curious. Get curious about what you can do. A lot of times it's just like, I'm gonna go see and do and
Wow.
and let it be. So that's
Wow.
those would be my additional thoughts.
Wow. I love that. Get curious. I 100% agree. I haven't had that thought about running in years. So thank you for sharing that. That's been good. That brings back a lot of good memories. And I would agree, you know, get curious about it because there's a lot of adventures. There are a lot of things you can try and you may surprise yourself. So I love it. If anyone wants to follow you on social media, on Strava, where could they follow you at?
On Instagram, it is just my name, Christy Rundio. You can also find me on Facebook. It's Christy Tomlinson Rundio. And then yeah, Strava. I'm actually what's my name on there? Same thing. Strava name is Christy Rundio, right? Yes, very generic, just Christy Rundio.
Awesome.
And my name just happens to have the word run in it. I didn't design it that
So
way. It was just serendipitous.
yep. I love it. I know. We were teasing her about this a few weeks back. Well, cool. Well, Christy, it has been so good to chat with you. This episode has been great. I've loved the context of it. We've definitely had our serious parts of it. We've had the
Mm,
laughing parts. We've had the, some tears. We've had some, parts where we really dug deep. So I really do appreciate you and thank you so much for taking time out of your night to spend with me. And I'm sure there will be many people, especially those who have maybe suffered a setback, who can use this podcast and use this episode to refocus and get back after it and know that it's not all over. So thank you so much. Seriously.
No, my pleasure. I'm super stoked to be here. Thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, we'll wrap up tonight. I just want to remind everybody again, if you have any needs with shoes, with nutrition, with anything, go over, check out Fleet Feet. Those guys over there in Ogden and Layton will get you taken care of. Again, so excited to have them as my premier sponsor for the podcast. Love Jamie and the other Jamie and Kevin. They're store managers at both stores. Those guys are rocking it. They'll get you taken care of. So stop by, see those guys and they'll get you guys taken care of. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great evening. Hey, runner. Thanks for hanging out with me today on Reimagine Running. I'm grateful you're here and a part of this great podcast. I just want to remind you, if you ever feel stuck, unsure, or just want someone in your corner, I do offer coaching for runners at any distance. Whether you're starting out with the 5K or you're chasing some crazy big goals and dreams like the marathon or the 100-miler, I'd love to help you. Please reach out and I'd be happy to set up a time to go over options and plans and goals with you. Well, until next time, take care of yourself. Trust the process, stay disciplined, and keep chasing that why.